Huskies won this year's NCAA tournament by a record point differential. Paul, can you even begin to make a case the Huskies are the greatest college basketball team ever? And if not, which team was?
I'm not going to be a prisoner of this moment. I mean, they will be in the conversation. Yes, they were able to accomplish something that only few college teams have done. But when I think about college teams and greatest college teams, there's a few that come to mind. They might not even be the greatest UConn team, Skip, that won a championship, because I look back at that Rip Hamilton team that only lost 2 games all year long in 98, 99.
Yep.
With Khalid Al-Amin, Rip Hamilton, they were one of the greatest teams out there. But this team cannot beat the 90 UNLV squad. When I look at Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anderson, Greg Anderson Hunt. You had about 5 pros on that team. You know, and you may have 4 or 5 pros on UConn's team. Who knows what's going to happen with them guys? But 91, 92 Duke team comes to mind. I mean, that's one of the great. Kentucky, 96 had 10 pros. Now, these teams didn't win 2 championships, although Duke did. But these teams have pros. When I talk about these teams, and to win a tournament, you have to be good and lucky. But when you talk about top-to-bottom talent, if you match these teams up, 5 Slamma Jamma, Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. I mean, these are Hall of Fame players that's playing on these teams. Now, we'll talk about this team more down the line as we see how they develop as pros. So right now, I don't want to put them in the mix. One of the great college teams, yes, they're in the conversation, but greatest, not so sure, Skip. When I matched 96, they not beating the 96 Kentucky team. No way. The 90 UNLV team, they're not beating. The 91 Duke team, they're not beating. So if you guys want to put them in the conversation because they won Florida, they won back-to-back.
They did.
They had 3 pros. So I think we're going to have to see how they develop into pros to go back to this conversation.
Yeah, I don't see it. I've watched a lot of college basketball in my day. A lot of it, Skip, and I'm, you know.
Until last night, but go ahead.
Yeah. Let's just go as far back as 84. Let's go 84 Georgetown Hoyas. Do you think that with Patrick Ewing, Michael Graham, Michael Jackson, and Reggie Williams, who beat Hakeem Olajuwon, 5 Slamma Jamma.
I was there.
Do you really honestly think that they would have a prayer of a chance? I mean, they wiped the floor with them dudes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd wipe the floor, but they would win.
I mean, they wiped the floor with that I saw last night against these dudes? And Michael Graham and company? Oh, man, come on. Come on, Skip. Now, and then he mentioned the 90 UNLV team, right? With Stacey Augmon and Greg Anthony and Anderson Hunt.
I think that's the greatest team ever.
And all those, you know, and Larry Johnson, and then they had David Butler on the team. They held the record at 112-point differential up until recently. They held that. Think about it. And they slaughtered the Duke team, 103 to 73.
It was annihilation.
They wiped the floor with them, and that was the same Duke team that we're talking about, that you were talking about, Paul.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's kind of like, no. I mean, it's cool that they won back-to-back championships. This is a watered-down men's basketball era right now. It's watered down. It's not good. And I
don't know why, but it just is. It's just the life cycle. It's just
it is.
The American talent just not there.
No. I can't envision this team beating a number of teams that went on to win championships over the years. I just can't. And I don't want to go through a whole list because it's a really long laundry list of teams that you look up and you go, well, they wouldn't have beat them. They wouldn't have beat them. Even teams that didn't finish the deal, they wouldn't have beat. It's from what I can see.
Okay, I'm going to defend this UConn team on this score. They played defense at the highest level. Listen, Purdue was held to season low, season low, season low across the board. The season low 60 points, season low 1-3, season low 7 3-point attempts. They just couldn't get shots off. So you got to give that. They've got NBA players because Klingon will play in the NBA, and he is a rim protector of the high. He's 7'2", okay? And Stephon Castle is going to be, I'm not going to say an NBA star, but he will play in the NBA. And I think Tristan Newton, even though he's been there now, he's a senior, but I think he's going to play in the NBA. Caravan will definitely play in the NBA. My point to you is they're so well coached, they would cause problems for some of these great teams because they would defend them at a very high level, a fierce level, and a smart level.
So
okay?
You brought it up, and what's the center's name?
Klingon, yeah.
Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just start there. What would he do with Patrick Ewing in college?
He'd bother him, but he'd ultimately lose to him.
He didn't bother that guy last night.
Patrick Ewing beat Akeem Olajuwon.
No, he did. I was there. I watched it.
So that's all I'm saying, though, Skip. When you look at it, it's like, well, what would Akeem Olajuwon do to him?
All right. I'm going to do a game over here. And I think you'll agree with me because you always say when we talk about the GOAT conversation, we have to start with
Kareem.
You have to start with Kareem.
You have to.
Well, once upon a time, he was called Lou Alcindor, and he was playing at UCLA right here in Los Angeles, and nobody could touch them because he was just too good. He was too big and too skilled and too nasty, man. I mean, he had an attitude about him. He was a cold-blooded basketball killer of the highest order. And by the time he got to be a senior, because he was forced to stay, so we go all the way to the 69 team, they went 29-1 because they lost a late season game, and I don't know anything about it. They lost at USC, and I don't know how they did, but they did. I don't get it.
Williams or something,
I don't know. I don't know.
Westphal or something.
I don't know. I think it was Paul Westphal was on that team. But the point was, they had 6 NBA players on this team, and I don't know, this is before your time, but do you remember Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wicks? Because they were serious.
Jamal, right?
Yeah. No. You're talking about
Sidney Wicks.
Wicks, not Wilkes.
Wicks. Okay,
no,
Wicks.
No. Wicks.
Okay.
But Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wicks went on and had really good NBA careers. So they're higher-level NBA players. That team had 6 NBA players on it, but it had Kareem at age 22, so he's like a man among boys because he's already turning into Kareem. Well, who's going to beat that? Trust me, Hakeem Olajuwon couldn't beat it. Patrick Ewing couldn't beat it. None of these guys could beat it. Larry Johnson would have no chance against that Kareem.
And that may be true. Yeah. I wasn't around, so I had to go all the way back there.
Right, so just for the record, that UCLA team featuring Kareem, Lou Alcindor, got to the finals and also played Purdue. And they had a great player, a white guy named Rick Mount, but he was just the classic white 2-guard shooter. And he was shot 12 of 36 in that game because they were all over him.
36 shots.
Yeah, and listen, Kareem goes 37 and 20 on 15 of 20 shots against Purdue. 15 of 20 and made 7 of 9 free throws because he could shoot free throws. So they won that game 92-72. So they won by 20. And that team right there, I'll put it against any team, anywhere, at any time. If you could bring it into the present, it'd be game over because he was just, as you make a case, he belongs in the NBA GOAT conversation.
Yeah, of course he does.
Because until recently, he was the greatest scorer of all time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, again, it's hard to gauge this team here, but like the Larry Johnson team, would I give this team a chance against the Larry Johnson team? I might.
No
shots.
Okay.
I'm not even talking. You're talking about the team. We're talking about the team that won.
Yeah, I know.
How about the team that lost?
Yeah, I know it. I was there. I was.
The team that lost.
I was in courtside.
What were they?
The team that won or the
when they
team
lost,
that
they was
lost.
30. What were they? 34-0 when they wound up losing. Yeah, they were something undefeated. They were undefeated.
Okay,
60-plus games in a row.
But Stacey Augmon was a better college player than a pro player. He was.
But we're not talking about the pros. We're talking about college.
Okay. And Greg Anthony, I know him very well, but he was a very good college.
Solid pro
he was
careers, all of them.
solid. I give you that.
But we're not talking about
Anderson
pro.
Hunt wasn't a pro. I mean, he wasn't.
We're talking college.
Yeah, I understand.
No,
Them
but
dudes
I
was
think you go
crazy
back,
in
when you start
college.
looking back at the great college teams, you look at them based on what they did in the NBA or guys that made it to the NBA because that shows you how good they were. You know, if they have 3 pros that come out of UConn that end up being all-stars, you're going to look back like that team was really good. It's going to be better looked at if they developed into something into the pros, right?
You can't look at a person developed in the pros, but it also, as you know and I know, right place, right time, situation,
Yeah,
team
but you're gonna
around
go back and like,
all that
that
stuff.
UConn team had him and him. He was all-star. He made Hall of Fame, and then all of a sudden, this team moves up on the charts as far as greatest college teams. That's just how we look at it. I mean,
even the team I'm just thinking about as we generationally, even the Michigan team with Chris Webber and them that didn't win anything.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
If they would have played him, what would that look like?
No, that's a good one. I would give you
see
that
what
one.
I'm saying? Even though they didn't finish the deal, the Fab Five them dudes was crazy with it.
In college, they were.
In college, they was crazy with it.
Jalen was a decent pro player, but not a great pro player.
I understand. I'm just talking about, I'm solely focused in on the college game in the teams that they had that you look at in college. Even some of them Duke teams, man, along the way.
We forget about those Arkansas teams, too.
Sidney
Nolan Richardson
Arkansas team.
Yeah.
What they call
Corliss Williams.
40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell. Those teams I'll put up against anybody.
Yeah.
They went to 2 national championships.
Okay.
And I think
you brought up Phi Slama Jama, and they left a bad taste in my mouth because I was there for that game, and I still can't believe they lost to North Carolina State, but there was no shot clock, so the score is like 54-53, and it goes to the buzzer, as you recall, and there's an air ball shot that gets put back in at the buzzer to beat them by 1. But listen, if you have Akeem and Clyde Drexler on the same college team, it's not fair.
Right.
And it wasn't fair until that game, right?
Yeah, but we could. Yeah, it's not fair when you have stars like that. You got 2 Hall of Famers.
2 top 75 players.
Yeah, 2 top 75 players off the same team. You probably are going to lose.
Okay, and I mentioned the Jordan team. He was just 18 years of age, but he was a freshman in '82 on Carolina.
And think about that, though. You were there, Skip. If that North Carolina team played that UConn team,
oh Lord,
they wiped the floor with the dudes.
James Worthy and Sam Perkins, who were both
and
really
a young
good
Michael Jordan.
And he made the shot of shots. He made the game winner. So, and there wasn't a Kenny Smith on that team. You guys brought it up, but he wasn't on that team.
I don't know why I thought he was on that team.
Jimmy Black was the point guard on that team.
Okay.
And Matt Doherty played forward, so that they were just okay college players. But when you got even Baby Jordan and Worthy and Perkins, it's like, God.
Baby Jordan.
Yeah, well, he was baby, but guess who Dean Smith called the last play for? Baby Jordan.
Baby Jordan.
The 18-year-old.
He'd have called it for LeBron if LeBron was there, too.
You really think so? I think LeBron would have said, don't call my number, man. I don't want to be part of this. I'm running from this one. Let him shoot it.
It tickles you to death, doesn't it, Paul?
He knows I'm right.
He loves this.
Yeah. Oh, God. He put the clamps on him.
Stirred the pot.
He did. He put the clamps on him when it mattered, right?
He probably would have passed up the shot.
Don't fall for that, man.
No,
don't fall into that.
That's what he do in the clutch, though. He'll
make the right play.
I'll make the right play because I don't want to take that shot.
Yeah.
I'll pass it to Kyle Korver in the corner for that corner 3, which he's never shot in his life for the kind of stakes.
Oh, God. All right, let's go. Move along.
All right, we haven't talked NFL yet, so I got to get Keyshawn on record here because he's not